Now that you've just finished learning about CSS Box Model, you are in a perfect spot to understand how to control the layout of your elements. In this video, we're going to take a look at float property, and I'll show you the modern technique of self-clearing floats. Okay, so let's get started. Let's start with something basic. Imagine you have a web page with two boxes, one with text and another with an image. By default, these boxes will stack on top of each other because they are block level elements, which means they take up the full width of their container and push the next element down. This is what we refer as the normal flow of a document. What if you want these boxes to sit side by side instead of stacking? Here is where the float property comes into play. With float, you can make one of these boxes to float to the left or to the right of its container, and the other content will wrap around it. This is especially helpful when you want to place text next to an image, like in a news article layout. Here's how to do it. If you want to float the first box to the left, we target that class and we add the property float with the value of left. As soon as we add the float with the value of left, the first box moved to the left and the second box wrapped around it. It's as simple as that. Now let's see this in action with some real content. Imagine you have an image and some text, and you want the text to wrap around the image. Here's what the HTML code could look like. So inside my article, I have heading 3, image, and some paragraphs. As you can see in my CSS, I've already added some styles that are not related to floats. So let me walk you through what I've added. So in the body, I've added border, 8 pixels, solid blue, font family, Arial. If Arial is not there, then any sans serif. I've reset margin to 0, padding to 0, and I've added a background color of ash F5, F5, F5. Then in my article, I've added a border of 5 pixels, solid, and the default, which is black, a width of 80%, margin of 20 top and bottom, and left and right auto, and a padding of 20 px, then a background color of hash FFF. Then my heading 3s, I've added a font size of 2.5 em, a color of hash 333, then my paragraph line height of 1.5 and a color of hash 555. Then in my image with a class of float dash left, I've added a width of 500 px. So let's save this by pressing Command S, then come here to index.html and copy path, then switch to the browser and paste it here. All right, and this is what we have. So we want to float this image on the left, and then this paragraph will wrap around this image. All right, so let's turn to the code. So inside here, I will add float with the value of left. Save that and turn to the browser. Reload by pressing Command R. Our image is floating to the left and the paragraph is wrapping around the image. So one thing to keep in mind when using floats is that the content will stick to the floated element, like what you see in our image and the text here. And to fix this, I need to add some space between the image and the text. So what property do you think we should use to add some space between the image and the text? I'll give you some hint. It's either by using margin or padding. If you have said margin, you're correct. But if you're not sure, I've linked a video on the screen that can explain why margin. To be specific, we need to add space on the right side. So that will be margin right. So let's turn to our code and add margin dash right with the value of 30 px. Save that and turn to our browser and reload. All right. So now we know how to float element left and right. But here is the problem. Because the floated elements are taken out of the normal flow, their parent container might not recognize them properly. And this can cause the container to collapse. Let me show you this. I'll turn to my HTML code and I will delete all my paragraphs. Save that, turn to the browser and reload. So the black border is our article and the blue is our body. As you can see, our article container and the body did not expand to include our floated element, which is our image. So how do we fix this? This is called self-clearing floats, and the modern way is by using display with the value of flow-root. Save that, switch to the browser and reload. Now the container automatically adjusts its height to include the floated element, which is our image. All right, so let's bring back our paragraphs, and also I want to delete the border from the body and the article. Save that, Switch to our browser and reload. If you want this last paragraph not to wrap around the image, then we need to clear it using clear property. Let me show you. In my HTML, this last paragraph, I'm going to add a class and I'll name it clear-float. So the clear property has a value of both left and right, and I'm going to use the value of both. On my styles, I'm going to target that class, clear-float, then inside I'll write clear with a value of both. Save that, then to my browser, reload. The last paragraph is now back to the normal flow. Now, from here, I want you to copy this article and paste it underneath. Then I want you to change float left to right. Then I want you to float this image on the right. When you're done, you'll have something like this. And there you have it, the float property and the modern way of self-clearing floats. I hope this makes sense and that you're excited to try it out in your next project. And if you got value from this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this one. Next up, we're going to dive into the position property and you'll see how it gives you even more control over where elements appear on your page. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.